The Three Children of Fortune. Once upon a time, a father sent his 3 sons and gave the eldest a cock, to the second a skive, and to the third a cat.
I am now old, said he. My end is approaching, and I would fain provide for you before I die. Money I have none. Excuse me. And what I now give you seems of but little worth, yet it rests with yourselves alone to turn my gifts to good account. Only seek out for a land where what you have is as yet unknown, and your fortune is made.
After the death of the father, the eldest set out with his cock. But wherever he went, in every town, he saw from afar off a cock sitting upon the church steeple and turning around with the wind. In the villages, he always heard plenty of them crowing, and his bird was therefore nothing new. So there did not seem much chance of his making his fortune. At length it happened that he came to an island where the people who lived there had never heard of a cock, and knew not even how to reckon the time. They knew indeed if it were morning or evening, but at night, if they lay awake, they had no means of knowing how time went. Behold, he said to them, what a noble animal this is! How like a knight he is! He carries a bright red crest upon his head, and spurs upon his heels. He crows 3 times every night at stated hours, and at the 3rd time the sun is about to rise. But this is not all. Sometimes he screams in broad daylight, and then you must take warning, for the weather is surely about to change. This pleases the natives mightily. They kept awake one whole night, and heard, to their great joy, how glorious the cock called the hours at 2, 4, and 6 o'clock. Excuse me. Then they asked him whether the bird was to be sold, and how much he would sell for. About as much gold as an ass can carry, said he. A very fair price for such an animal, cried they with one voice, and agreed to give him what he asked. Excuse me. When he returned home with his wealth, his brothers wondered greatly. And the second said, I will now set forth likewise, and see if I can turn my skive to as good an account. There did not seem, however, much likelihood of this, for go where he was met by peasants who had as good a skive on their shoulder as he had. But at last, as good luck would have it, he came to an island where the people had never heard of a skive. There, as soon as the corn was ripe, they went into the fields and pulled it up. But this was very hard work, and a great deal of it was lost. The man then set to work with his skive, and mowed down their whole crop so quickly that the people stood staring open-mouthed with wonder. They were willing to give him what he asked for such a marvelous thing. But he only took a horse laden with as much gold as it would carry. Now the third brother had a great longing to go and see what he could make of his cat. So he set out, and at first it happened to him as it had to the others. So long as he kept upon the mainland, he met with no success. There were plenty of cats everywhere, indeed too many, so that the young ones were, for the most part, as soon as they came into the world, drowned in the water. At last he passed over to an island where, as it chanced, most lucky for him, nobody had ever seen a cat, and they were overrun with mice to such a degree that the little wretches danced upon the tables and chairs, whether the master of the house were at home or not. The people complained loudly of this grievance. The king himself knew not how to rid himself of them in his palace. In every corner mice were squeaking, and they gnawed everything that their teeth could lay hold of. Here was a fine field for a puss. She soon began her chase and had cleared 2 rooms in the twinkling of an eye. When the people besought their king to buy the wonderful animal for the good of the public at any price, the king willingly gave what he asked. Excuse me. A mule laden with gold and jewels, and thus the third brother returned home with a richer prize than either of the others. Meantime the cat feasted away upon the mice in the royal palace and devoured